Am I the asshole for telling my wife I think she's bipolar? So my wife has been in therapy for years and has some anger issues. She's gotten better, but still gets short with me every month, near her period. Recently, she asked me what it's like for me when she gets like that. She's big on honesty, so I told her I think she's bipolar. She's been quiet and withdrawn ever since. If she seems like she's getting upset, she'll take deep breaths and leave the room, and she'll only speak to me when she's totally calm. She acts really sweet to me, which is nice, but she's like a Stepford wife, so it's pretty unsettling. I asked her if she's mad at me for saying she's bipolar, and she said no, and thanked me for being honest. But then she told me she had an emergency session with her therapist, and when I asked why, she said she needed clarity on some issues. I ended up calling her sister, who was her best friend, and telling her what I had said. I trust her sister, she's a smart woman. She said I was diagnosing my wife, and that I can upend her progress in therapy by using bipolar as a weapon. I said I was genuinely telling her what I think, and my sister-in-law said I don't have the right to diagnose her, and that I sound like I have no empathy for my wife. Of course, she told my wife, who was now upset with me for getting her sister involved because it's humiliating that I would tell anyone that I think she's bipolar. I'm incredibly confused. My wife values honesty more than anyone I've ever met, so I don't get how I'm the bad guy for being honest. But now everyone's mad at me, so am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might be the a-hole because of how hard my wife works to be a better person, and I think I cut her down by saying she's bipolar. Also, my sister-in-law thinks I shouldn't have said that, and I trust her judgment even though I don't understand it. She asked you what it's like for you when she gets like that. She didn't say, hey, am I bipolar? Can you diagnose me with something that might be wrong with me? I think that was a really bad take. Even though you want to be honest in this situation, you were still an asshole for being honest in that way. That's not to say you're a bad person at all. This was the wrong move in this situation. You shouldn't have done that. You need to apologize and take back those words and just say, hey, when you get snappy with me, I'm sad about this. It affects me emotionally. It doesn't make me happy. Can we talk about healthy ways to deal with these bouts of anger that you have? Because you said she's been in therapy for years and has some anger issues. I would assume that if she's been in therapy for years, they would pick up on if a mental illness going on here. Hopefully, that is my assumption. I'm an idiot, I know this. But you'd think that a therapist would be able to pick up on these signs. I think your words were unnecessary and very harmful, and I think you're the asshole for this one. Now in the comments, I'm Stealing the Towel says, quote, she recently asked me what it's like for me when she gets like that. She's big on honesty, so I told her I think she's bipolar. She asked you how you feel when she gets snappy at you, not for an uneducated diagnosis. You're the asshole. Brian WT says, I think you're the asshole simply because it sounds like you're using bipolar as an insult to describe her emotional or moody stages, and maybe not really understanding that bipolar is a bigger issue and an actual disorder. Many people just say, oh, you're so bipolar today, and that's what it sounded like you're doing in this statement. And also, you say she gets moody during her period, which many women do. What does that have to do with her being possibly bipolar? And OP replies, I didn't want to get too into it, but I do think she is bipolar. She goes from being the most loving, funny, happy person to being super angry. She's been working on her anger issues for years, and she's gotten a lot better, but I do think she is bipolar. That's why I don't understand why I'm the ass for saying it. She values honesty and thanked me for telling her. I believe bipolar disorder is characterized by periods of depression and periods of mania. Not sure if that's the correct current terminology, not going from loving and fun to angry. You were correct, OP is not. I'm bipolar, and his wife does not sound like she is at all. He has not described mania. Mania is getting on a plane to another country randomly, riding a motorcycle without a helmet at 3 AM at 100 miles per hour, or giving away all your savings, going to a casino and maxing out your card. Not going from happy to angry. I've done all of these things followed by suicide attempts. That's bipolar. OP saw it on TV. Yep, my dad is bipolar, and when he was manic, especially before he got help, he almost looked like he was on something to kid me. Like there was a wildness behind his eyes and behavior, and you had no idea what he would do. Like you said, throwing away money randomly, or just taking off and having a sudden idea that was fun to us kids. But looking back, Jesus Christ, my mum must have had so many near heart attacks from the crap that he took us to do. My dad also has other problems that cause very real hallucinations, so adding that in was fun. And Jojo Cruz says, "You're the asshole." She wanted to know what it was like for you. She didn't ask for a medical diagnosis. What she wanted to hear from you was, "It impacts me in this way," or "This is how I feel." And OP replies, "Thank you. This is something I've struggled with in the past. For some reason, your fill-in-the-blanks clarified for me how I should have responded." I'm glad that helps. It also helps to point out a specific action. When you blank, I feel blank. When you scream at me, I feel attacked. When blank happens, my response is to feel blank. When you eat all the cookies, my response is to feel sad. She wants to understand your perception of the event and how you feel. Yep, this is very good. For what it's worth, my supervisor would say that attacked isn't a feeling, it's an evaluation, while a feeling might be anxious, angry, frustrated, defensive, scared, etc. Anyway, just my own half a cent worth. I hope this doesn't make you feel attacked, winky face. And back to the post. Edit. A user posted the diagnostic criteria for bipolar and it does not fit my wife. I'll speak to her later to apologize. I'm ashamed of myself. Thank you for helping me out. And edit. I guess it's okay to say this since it's anonymous. My wife has been diagnosed with PMDD and PTSD. And now on to the update. So I feel pretty bad about myself after reading the replies. It was a wake-up call. I told my wife I'm sorry and that I read the diagnostic criteria for bipolar and I was 100% wrong. She told me it messed with her pretty bad and it was irresponsible of me to say it. She also said that it made her feel like all of the work she's done is for nothing. Her therapist did tell her that she's not bipolar and that I probably didn't know what it meant. She was also pretty angry that I had spoken to her sister. While we were talking, I tried to look at it from her side, and I realized that if the tables were turned, I'd feel like she didn't respect me and I'd be disappointed in her behavior. It makes me feel like crap that I did that to her. I have some serious issues about empathy and communication, among other things. The truth is, she's been bettering herself since the day I met her, and I've been coasting. I feel a little lost on how to improve myself, so I've done an email blast to therapists on my insurance to see if anyone can do Zoom sessions. I showed the post to her, and she said that I sound like a dip crap, but seeing all of you people defending her was good. And she was flipping out in a good way that some people recognized she had PMDD from the limited description. She said, "The sisterhood knows." It's crazy that if someone hadn't linked the diagnostic criteria and challenged me to read it, I don't know if I would have. Anyway, that's all, and thanks everyone. Now in the comments, Alice Anonymous 99 says, "Imagine that. You were ignorant to something, educated yourself and changed your opinion. Progress. It is a rare insight indeed." I love reading insights where someone posted on Am I the Asshole, were called an asshole, and they not only accepted the judgment, but learned from it and changed for the better. When that happens, it points out that we aren't here just for the circle jerk, that we achieve some real good in people's lives with our opinions and judgments. Feels good. I read your original post and immediately thought, she has PMDD. I was diagnosed with it about 17 years ago. It sucked, but what was great was getting a diagnosis and help for it. All the best to you both. This is why I've elected to stay on birth control. I really don't want to subject myself or the world to that. And Whiskey Baby 15 says, "Well done for being humble enough to admit your mistakes. I too suffer from PMDD and it is no joke. I've also been misdiagnosed with bipolar, but really, 2 weeks or when I start ovulating, I am a total nightmare. I am sad, I cry over dumb crap, get angry a lot, and my breasts are so painful. Not to mention the horrible bloating. Since being on the implant, I am much better. The symptoms of bipolar and PMDD are very similar, but also incredibly different if looked at closely. May your wife get through this, she will, and you both have just overcame a thorn in your marriage successfully. So be proud of that, both of you. You've learned your lesson, and that's all that matters. Our next post is by user Throwaway, titled, "Am I the asshole for taking my stepwife's side in an argument and telling my mum to get the hell out?" So I, 27 male, East Asian, have been married to my wife, 27 female South Asian, since 2017. We have a 3-year-old daughter and a 6-month-old son. So my wife can't cook. She can do basic stuff, obviously, but she hates it. It's like a mix of fear and clumsiness, and honestly, up until we got married, I didn't cook either. Obviously, this was a problem. We eventually came to a solution. I do the cooking and she washes all the dishes before and after. I'm fine with it, she's fine with it, and we've been functioning well. My parents and my in-laws came over the other day for dinner, and everyone was having a great time. That was until my mother-in-law complimented my cooking skills. My mum was a bit taken aback for some reason and asked me if I cooked again. I informed her that I usually cook, and she just got even moodier. I brushed it off, but when my in-laws left, I caught my mother scolding my wife. About what, you ask? Well, apparently she should be the one cooking, not me. You know why? Because she's the wife, the woman, and I'm the husband, the man. My wife stood up for herself and said that we both came to an agreement and we didn't need her input on how we made our food. I involved myself at this point and told my mum that she was being very unreasonable. My mother said that she didn't get me married to become a slave to my wife, and that she was just looking out for me. I told her to get the hell out, and she left the house crying. I don't see why this is such a big deal. I don't think I'm the asshole either, but my mum says I am. My dad is on her side, just because she's his wife, but he says that I wasn't wrong for defending my wife, just for swearing at my mum. My wife is over it and wants to apologize just so we can move on, but I don't think we should, considering we didn't do anything wrong. My friend told me to get some judgment from here, so I am. Reddit, am I the asshole in this situation? And note, yes, we got married early. No, I don't care if you guys have a problem with that. Edit, okay, so my friend told me that Reddit isn't used to early marriages, so he told me to make a small note. I'm not judging. Apparently most people from my home country get married in their 30s. Anyways, haven't seen a single comment being judgmental, so I don't know what he was going on about. Thanks for the reassurance, guys. And also, I forgot to mention, I'm Canadian. Wife's Canadian too, and we live in, yup, you guessed it, Canada. Obviously, I probably would need to be a fly in the wall in this situation, but I'm going to assume that your strong language caused crocodile tears in your mother. I don't think she's genuinely offended and upset by it. I think she just wants to see a traditional family going on with you guys, which isn't happening. She wants to see traditional gender roles where the husband doesn't cook and the wife cooks every meal, which is very weird, and she chooses this hill to die on. I can respect your wife for trying to be the bigger man in this situation and saying, hey, you know what, let's just get this problem sorted, let's, get her to apologize as well, and it'll be water under the bridge. That's really respectful in all honesty, I can get behind that. But I also respect you for refusing to apologize. I do think the onus is on your mother to apologize because I believe she's the asshole in this situation. I don't think you are, so I'm gonna go not the asshole. Now in the comments, ourgirl4 says, not the asshole. Nice job defending your wife. Do not apologize, it makes your mother think she's right. She isn't. Agreed. Not the asshole. You have your own arrangements with your wife and it works perfectly. Your mum has no business getting involved in how you guys decide to do things. This right here. Apologizing would straight up mean admitting that your mum was right and she will come with renewed vigor. You become an asshole once, only in her worldview, you are not the asshole in all fairness, or become a doormat again and again. Exactly that. Maybe apologize for swearing, but not for telling her she's wrong or kicking her out. She will take it as an admission of guilt, and then it'll be a whole thing when OP is still cooking. If you do this, make sure to restate the cooking and cleaning situation is none of her business. Maybe something like, I apologize for my language, but the way our home and marriage work is for us to define, and I would appreciate it if you wouldn't comment on it in the future. Not the asshole. Quote, she didn't get me married to become a slave to my wife. Your mum seems to be overlooking the fact that this is not her marriage. Whatever criteria she may have had for your future spouse are irrelevant. If you're happy, then she needs to butt out. At most, she can express her concerns once if she thinks you're in danger, but having to make your own dinner does not qualify. Yes, and also, did she marry him to become a slave? Not the asshole. The worst part of all of this is the implication that his wife would normally be a slave for cooking all the meals. And not the asshole, especially since she was given a chance to back down. Read your notes, you were 23 and 24 when you got married, so you were adults. I don't see any comments criticizing you. And OP says, my friend told me to mention it since apparently 23 is early these days. I don't know though, I haven't seen any comments either. Nah, you'll get comments if you get married before the ages of like 20 or 21, but I think your friend was a little off there. I mean, yeah, it is kinda young, but not outrageously so. It's hardly comment-worthy. Even then, it's no one's business. I understand some people are concerned, but getting married young doesn't inherently mean the parties were too immature to get married or won't have a long, healthy marriage. I know several people that got married around that age and are still together 20 to 50 years later. My hubby and I got married at 24. It was weird as hell for the first few years because my friends I'd known since childhood almost didn't know how to relate anymore. Cue about 7 years later, they're all getting married, and it was the weirdest time for the next 2 to 3 years, as they all got married and had the exact same, verbatim, arguments that hubby and I had had in our first couple years. Made for some very fun dinner evenings out, he and I just chillin' and watching our friends have the arguments. We sympathized and it was theirs to have the arguments. And now on to the update. Hi guys. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the kind words and the different perspectives and advice. I appreciated them all. I don't know if you guys wanted an update, but I feel like I should give you one. Also, I have nothing else to do. Also, before we go on, I'd like to clarify that my wife can cook basic things. And of course, she cooks for the kids when I'm not able to. She won't risk anything happening to our kids just because she doesn't like to cook. So the other day, I went to my parents' house with my family, and the very first thing my mum did was apologize. She was very sorry for saying what she did, and said that she knew she was wrong, but didn't want to admit how badly sexist and rude she had been. I also apologized for getting heated and saying stuff, but also explained to my mum why I did what I did. She understood and said that it was fine. I also replied to someone saying that she doesn't say anything when my older brother and dad cook, so I thought I'd mention that as well. When I asked my mum why, she said that I'm her youngest, and while my brother, 17 years older than me, and my dad were out doing whatever it is they did, I was always with her, so she babies me a lot. My wife said that she probably favors me, and honestly, I would not be surprised. I explained to her how I literally have kids of my own now, and how I'm not a child anymore. I love her, but I'm not a kid, and cooking does not make me a slave. I don't think my mum said those things because my wife is South Asian. Maybe, but I don't believe so, and neither does my wife. Anyways, thanks again for the nice comments and everything. I don't use Reddit, but this was a nice way of getting some perspective. Thanks again. Now in the comments, Tiny Lolita says, my parents are similar. My mum does the dishes while my dad cooks. It's not about traditional roles, it's about compromise on their skills. Sometimes the way we're taught growing up, exposed to our environments, and learned through others are hard to unlearn. I'm glad this is a great update. I call him Chef Dad when I'm hungry. I love you, Mum, but Dad uses more spice. Ali Cracker says, just read your previous post, and hubby and I had a similar issue come up a couple years ago. Mother-in-law is very rooted in traditional gender roles, so it was difficult for her to accept that I, the woman, do all the home improvements and renos, and that my husband is a genius in the kitchen. It made her very uncomfortable at first, but after tasting enough of my botched meals, and also having a proper sit-down chat with her, she gets it now. She's also learned to appreciate the new flooring I put down or the bathroom I redid. It was all just such a strange concept for her to wrap her head around. I also always do all the cleanup after meals, much like how my husband helps me haul my tools around. It's an equal partnership that accepts each other's strengths and weaknesses. We're almost 20 years in, and it works for us. It sounds like you guys are on the right track. I'm really glad you were able to have a proper adult conversation about the whole situation. By the way, I don't think it has anything to do with your wife's ethnicity. We're as white comes. It's a generational thing in my opinion. Kelt42 asks, did she apologize to your wife or just you? And OP replies, she apologized to my wife as well. I wouldn't have forgiven her if she didn't. In person, or did you pass it on? In person. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Marky2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.